Marriage takes two people to work it out, and no matter how competent you are, your spouse determines if that marriage will succeed or fail.
Imagine you're visiting a friend for just 30 minutes. Now imagine that you'll be having a sleepover with that same friend. Let's then imagine that you are spending the weekend with a friend. Better still, imagine you are moving in with the person for a couple of years. I'm sure that each of these scenarios will require different degree of preparation.
Okay, so for the 30 minutes visit, it's a casual visit. You don't need to do anything. You just carry yourself and go, whether it's convenient or not. But for the sleepover, you would carry some clothes, and you also want to know whether the house is convenient enough for you to spend the night over there. Now, for the weekend scenario, you carry more clothes and probably also carry food, or think about the food you're going to eat over there. Then at this time, you would want to know whether the house is also convenient enough for you to spend the weekend over there, and you will also consider some functions you might perform from there, maybe some things that you require to attend to while you're over there, and if they are not conducive enough, you might be reluctant to spend the weekend over there. Now for moving in, you get it. The preparation will be way more rigorous. We don't need to talk about that.
Now, imagine that you want to marry someone. This is more profound than moving in with a friend, because this decision is something that affects you for the rest of your life, even if you get married for just a few hours only.
One of the most important decisions you would ever make in this life is choosing whom to marry. And because of how serious this is, one has to be careful and maintain some standards to succeed in marriage. Like the scenario of visiting a friend we earlier painted, marriage is not something you just casually walk into, and definitely you have to consider some things when it comes to choosing your partner.
In today's video, we are sharing 6 standards that you must uphold when it comes to choosing a spouse for your marriage to work. These standards were also what helped us when we were choosing each other.
And you find out that many successfully married couples also apply the same standards before they choose whom to marry.
But before we start, also apply the same standard to yourself, because you're one of the 2 people in the marriage. If you don't meet these standards, your spouse, even if he or she ticks all the boxes, will suffer because of you.
Yes. The first one is for men. Don't marry someone you cannot die for. We're instructed as husbands to love our wives. And the kind of love we're supposed to show for our wives is the kind of love that you would be able to lay down your life for your wife. So make sure that the woman you're settling down with is someone that you love to this extent that you'll be able to die for her. I remember when we're having our counseling, that was what the priest in charge of our counseling asked us. He asked me whether I could die for Fibz, and my answer then was yes, and he also asked her, and her answer was yes then. And we've grown so much in loving each other now that yes pales in comparison to my yes of now, and I'm sure that my yes of now will pale in comparison to my yes of years later. So you should love the woman you want to marry to an extent that you'll be willing to die for her before you settle down with her. Don't hope that we're going to manage, we're going to grow. So if you look at the woman you want to marry now, ask yourself, do I love this woman so much that I want to die for her? If no, please pause growing your love for that person before you marry that person. Then the second reason is that your death or your sacrifice at the end should not be a downgrade. So that means that you should be able to choose a woman that even you dying for the greater good, your sacrifice is not useless. The woman should be able to still carry on whatever the both of you have started, and your children are still going to benefit. The only thing is that your loss will be felt, but the family is still making progress. So make sure that your death does not downgrade her. Carry a kind of woman that even when you are not around, she'll still make progress in her personal development, and she'll also be able to make the inputs for your family to grow.
The second standard is for women. Don't marry someone you cannot submit to. That is because there's an order, right? The man is the head of the woman, just as Christ is the head of the man. So you have to marry someone that you can submit to, someone that you can respect. And for women, respect is earned. You may have money or the looks or even be older, but as long as you're not giving a woman any reason to respect you, you're not going to get that that respect. So my dear woman, this man that you're planning on getting married to, is he someone that you genuinely respect, despite the fact that he has money, or he's even older than you, or he looks good? Is he someone that you truly respect, or you're struggling to respect? So if you find yourself second guessing or doubting his leadership, then don't be in a hurry to marry him. You have to pause and figure it out properly and carefully before you enter, because marriage is a lifetime commitment, and the truth is that you cannot be with someone you do not respect. Marry someone that can lead you and not make you feel stupid, someone that will be able to set boundaries for respect and protection, especially when it comes to his family, his friends, and even the people outside. People should be able to respect you, and he should be able to provide that protection for you as his wife. Also, you picking his identity should be an upgrade. It should not be something that you are ashamed of, because the Bible said two will even become one. So you shouldn't be ashamed of his identity. Also, as a woman, you should be able to harness the potential of the guy. He might not be there yet, but you know he has something. So you should also help him so that you work together and bring out the best in him.
The third standard is, when it comes to choosing your spouse, make your best choice. And when you're making that best choice, don't think about just now, the first 1 year or the first 10 years. Think long term. Think in a lifelong perspective. Please, emotions are not reliable. So don't allow that useful love, butterfly in my tummy, or pity because you people have been dating for a long time. You don't want to break his heart, or even hatred for your ex because maybe you broke up with your ex and then you want to move in to marry someone, and desperation too because you've reached an age that you need to marry and people are telling you to marry. You just jump in. Even loneliness, because you are lonely, you need someone for company. Don't allow these things, among other emotions, to push you towards marrying, because they won't make you think clearly. So make sure that you're making the best decision, because as it is, the demand is that you leave every man as a woman and you leave every woman as a man, and choose your spouse to stay with that person for the rest of your life. And then another thing to also think about is that love is giving and not taking. So don't also think in terms of, I'm going to be getting from this person. Also think in the terms of, is this someone that I can continue to give for the rest of my life? These things will guide you properly when it comes to choosing your spouse. Then another thing to add to that is that it should be someone that you could also trust with your life, because your spouse is that powerful. So make sure, I will repeat that again, that you make the best decision. Choose the best spouse possible and do it very calmly, rationally, and prayerfully.
The fourth point is, think about yourselves as a team. So when you get married, there's no longer I, it's we. Your responsibility is towards each other. You have to take care of each other and make sure that you're improving, and also you're bringing out the best from each other, because that's what a team is all about. And it requires two good people. No matter how good you are, you alone, you're not enough to make the marriage work. When things go wrong with one person, the other person will be there to fix or help correct the situation. But imagine one person is bad and something happens to the good guy, everything is just going to scatter. It's like when one person is blind and the other person with sight is leading the blind one. So when something happens to the one seeing, there's no hope for the blind one. But if the two can see, at least if something happens to one person, at least the other person will be there to help out. That is why you have to think about yourselves as a team. Also, you are each other's cheerleaders. You have to be your spouse's biggest fan. Nobody should cheer him outside more than you. You have to be there. You have to root for that person. You also have to think of your spouse as your teammate when it comes to raising children. And that is because research has it that children that were brought up by single parents do not really do well compared to children that have both parents together. So when you are choosing a spouse, you have to also ask yourself this question: is he going to be a good husband and a good father to my children, or is she going to be a good wife and a good mother to my children? Because some people are good husbands but they are not good fathers. Some are good wives but they are not good mothers. Lastly, on this point, you have to think long term, and that is because people evolve, priorities change. Is that person going to grow alongside you? Even in your career, as you're growing, will that person continue to work with you? Will that person continue to cheer you up? So you have to ask yourself this question and answer them honestly before you embark on any journey with anyone.
The next point is, their families and their friends matter. when you're choosing a spouse, please don't isolate these two sets of people from that person, because you might find a good person, but an insight into their family gives you a deeper picture as to who that kind of person is. I know that our parents are people that I usually used to research. When I was getting married to my wife, I didn't know that my mother had gone to carry out her own research about Fibz family, and she was convinced enough to support us in that. So don't isolate the family. Don't say, is him I'm marrying, I'm not marrying his family, because especially in Africa, families are major stakeholders, so especially the husband's family, because you're marrying into that family, you are picking up their identity. You also have to also put it into context as to whether this is a family you want to pick their identity. It's not just carrying the person's surname. Make research about the family. That's for the friends. Look at the kind of people they are. Are they people that are living lives that you admire? Because to a large extent, they influence how your spouse behaves. So even if your spouse seems to be a good person but has friends that are making you have some second thoughts, please pause before you hurry up and go and marry the person, and you come and enter moto to be going somewhere that you were not ready to go. So before you commit, families and friends are groups of people or sets of people that you should research properly on, please.
So the sixth and the last point is, God is essential to a successful marriage. Learn to listen to God. Learn to follow his instructions. That is because God is very, very interested in your marriage and he needs it to succeed. Ecclesiastes 4:12 says, and though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not easily broken.
Yeah. This means that there are some certain enemies you will not be able to overcome on your own, but as a couple, you'll be able to withstand them. And a threefold cord is not easily broken. Imagine if the third cord is God. There's nothing that you won't be able to withstand. So involving God in your marriage, God being part of the cord, will help you to be able to succeed. As Fibz said, learn to listen to God. It's going to help you, because if you learn to listen to God individually, you learn to listen to God as a husband or as a wife and as a parent. God created marriage. God knows how marriage works. So he'll be able to guide you properly in ways that are going to make your marriage to succeed. So though is the last point, is the most important point to us. Involve God in your marriage. It goes a long way.
And it's not by shouting or going to church or even praying. You have to learn to listen to God and obey his instructions.
Yeah. These standards are very essential to us choosing a spouse. It's not about butterfly in my tummy and just go and pick someone and marry. It's a serious thing, because in as much as divorce is getting very, very popular now, even if you get married for just 3 minutes, it's a legal and a very serious thing, and it can have a lifelong repercussion. Now imagine that children are being involved in it too. So it's not something to use divorce and just carelessly enter into it and get out. You will still carry scars from it.
So that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're yet to. If you're interested in content like this. Also, please share our content with people whom you think will find it helpful. Thank you, and see you next time.